Welcome, everyone, to Two Rabbis, Three Opinions, a collective project of Temple Adad Elohim and Temple Etz Chaim, the Reform and Conservative congregations here in Thousand Oaks, serving the greater Conejo Valley. I'm Rabbi Barry Diamond from Adad Elohim, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Rabbi Ari Averbach from Temple Etz Chaim. Ari, great to be doing this with you.
I'm so glad to be doing this. We've been trying for so long to figure out how our synagogues can work together beyond the twice-a-year blood drives, which are amazing.
Very important.
But aside from that, we're very close together. We share a lot of people and resources. People hop between one synagogue and the next. And so it's nice to have something a little more formal to do with you, who's a friend and a colleague, and to do with your synagogue, because we like each other.
Yeah, we like each other. It's nice to be able to work with colleagues. I've been blessed with colleagues around me that are wonderful. So this is something that I'm excited, and we're doing something that I think is important. We started this podcast to help our communities and anyone who wants to listen kind of make sense of some of the big challenges that we're facing right now. I mean,
Yeah.
right now, anti-Semitism is rising. That may not be news to anyone. And there's louder criticism and really lots of confusion around Israel and Zionism. And even inside our own families and in our communities, there are real divides.
Yeah. I think within each person, too, we see the news on any given day, and I realize that this is going to come out after we record this, and who knows what the news is going to be. But to have a place in your community where you can go and know that you can ask the questions, you can hear that there are people having debates, even internal debates on what's going on, and know that you're in a safe place. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about how we came up with this and we wanted to do this. And I just want to make sure that we say somewhere towards the beginning, this was you and your community. You came up with this idea, and my community was like, that sounds pretty great. So much of this is Rabbi Barry Diamond and committee at TAE. And we're happy to partner with this. And we're happy that we have a book to jump off of for this conversation. And it's a pretty easy to read book. It would be great to start with like Buber or Heschel or something, but that takes like years of tearing it apart and chewing on it. Like, oh my God, what do you think he means here? What's going on? This language is a little bit stilted because it's 25, 75, 200 years old. And this is very now conversations that we've been having for the last couple of years, which is a different conversation than I thought I would be having as a rabbi. I got into the rabbinate when I was like, things are pretty safe for Jews. And now talking to some of my teachers even who are, decades beyond me, and they're going, yeah, I didn't think that my rabbinate would include the conversations we're having now.
Yeah, in some ways, at least I got into the rabbinate, and you, to a certain extent, got in at the end of a golden age of Jewish safety and security. And now that we are going through a different time, hopefully it is a time that will not last, but it's something that I think we need to be thoughtful about, and we need to prepare ourselves for. And we also need to be able to create space within our own community to ask hard questions. I think that some of the people who are challenged and challenge some of the ideas about Israel, about Zionism, about their own Judaism are some of the most thoughtful people that I know. Even if I disagree, or even if we disagree, the fact that we are two rabbis with three opinions is a very Jewish idea, and one that we cherish as a value.
Yeah. Imagine also, I think for so much of my life, before I was a rabbi, and I look at people in my community and my family, my friends, they never had to think about their Judaism. They never had to really defend their Judaism. And here we are, we're rewriting our curriculum for high school students because it used to be like, fun. And now we're going, okay, what tools do we have to give you so when you get to college, you know what to say or who to turn to or where to go in case major questions come up. And so it's nice to have people nice to have resources, nice to have books that are a starting place for all of this. So you chose the book. We chose the book, but you chose the book. Uncomfortable Conversations with a Jew. It's written as a dialogue. And anybody who's listening and they've already seen it or they've read it or they read part of it, you'll see it's written like a transcript of a conversation, of a podcast. Dialogue between Noah Tishby, who's an Israeli actress, an activist, and influencer, and Emmanuel Acho, I hope I'm saying his name right,
Yep.
who's a former NFL linebacker. And he started this Uncomfortable Conversations series because he realized that we as a country needed uncomfortable conversations with a Black man, that he needed to be a representative of what it means to be a Black man in the world, in our country today. And I admittedly, at this point of recording, I haven't read that book, and how strange it is to identify yourself as the Black man, or here, the Jew, who's answering all the questions, and knowing that your experience is your experience and maybe not the universal experience. And Noah being Israeli and gorgeous and an actress and a producer, like, her experience of being Jewish is a little bit different than my experience being Jewish. And her understanding of Israeli history as somebody who grew up in Israel is a little bit different than my understanding of Israeli or Jewish history. In the same way that Emmanuel Acho is the son of Nigerian immigrants. He is not the descendant of enslaved people in America in the 17th century. And so his Blackness in that book is specific to him. It's universal in some ways. So this is the third book in that series. And what makes it so compelling, that it's a real conversation between people from very different backgrounds. The book talks about how the book got to be, how they found each other, and how people from like very disparate, diverse backgrounds decided to write or talk a book together. There's something powerful about hearing these questions and the answers through the lens of that kind of dialogue. And given that many of our congregants have interfaith families or partners, we hope this format will feel especially relevant and meaningful.
And here's how we're planning on doing it.
Yeah.
We're inviting anyone who's listening to this, or really anyone in our congregations, to join these book discussions. Some of these book discussions are going to be in person, some are going to be online, some might look at one little section at a time or a chapter at a time. Each congregation will organize its book groups in their own way. Some might want to meet weekly, others monthly, and participants can read as little or as much as they like. So what we want to do is, for each episode, we want to focus on one section of the book. It's not going to actually be chapters, but it's going to be sections. And what we were going to do is to give some kind of a brief recap. It's not going to be a full recap, but a brief recap for those who haven't read it. Maybe share some of our own reflections, and sometimes we're going to invite a guest, either a subject matter expert or just some thoughtful person reacting to the material for the first time. We're aiming to release new episodes about once a month, and we would love to hear your thoughts and questions along the way.
And as I've shared with some in my community already, this book is not perfect. This is not us lauding the book and going page by page about how incredible this is. There are parts that I love and that really shined a light on history and what's going on now and what's happening in Israel and what's happening between Black Jewish relations. There are parts that I really, really struggled with. I disagreed with. I got angry with the book at times. I'd show it to my wife, who's an English teacher, be like, "Can you believe that this is what's going on?" And so that's there too. So if you read this and you go, I've got like questions about this," that's part of it. That's why there are more opinions than there are people. And we've all heard like jokes of like two Jews, three opinions, five opinions, 100 opinions. I can only imagine between our two communities, where there's, a couple thousand people between our communities, there's how many opinions about this. And so if you are loving it, if you're struggling with it, if you find it problematic, if you find it beautiful, we're going to reflect on all of those. So this isn't like a book report on the podcast, as Rabbi Diamond was saying. This is like, how can we find people who have a reflection on this, who have gone through this themselves, who have struggled with this, who disagree with it, to talk about it? And how do we get people who worked on the book, who agree with the book, who agree with us, to read it and talk about it? I don't know how much of it is denominational. She gets into a little bit of it here of like Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, Renewal, Reconstructionist, etc. But like that's not where the differences come in. It's not so much theological. There's an idea in Judaism of machloket l'shem shemaim, disagreement for the sake of heaven, is when people with different perspectives come together in search for truth, not to win an argument, but to deepen their understanding, to sharpen their own ideas, to get a different perspective. That's what we're trying to do with this model here. And of course, being rabbis, well, there's a lot of opinions and a lot of struggles. And if you're watching this video, then you see like the a lot of books behind us that probably give us different perspectives. And if whatever book I'm currently reading, also like that helps me with my narrative that I'm having at that moment. So probably more than 3 opinions in any given episode.
So if you're listening to this, if you're interested in joining a book club, and we hope that you are, then go to each of our congregation's website. Someplace on there will be a uncomfortable conversations with the Jew button. And we're going to ask you if you're willing to host a conversation. It's lovely. If you are just interested in participating, then there'll be opportunities for you to participate. Someone will reach out to you and help you to get slotted into a group. And keep an eye out for our podcasts and join in the conversation with us. I know that Ari and I are interested in talking to you, our congregants, our community, about these ideas, that we value your ideas. We value the ability to agree with you, the ability to disagree with you, but most of all, the ability to come together and argue for the sake of heaven, for a divine purpose. Are any final words for our introductory podcast?
No, which doesn't stop a rabbi from talking anyway. But I'm excited to go on this journey. I'm excited to hear from community members on their thoughts, on their questions, that as we're going through this, there's a chance that we bring in other experts and we talk about all these big topics, and we'll see where the conversation goes. I like that it's kind of unscripted. I like that my book has so many dog-eared pages and so many notes throughout, things that I think are worthy of bigger, deeper conversations.
Wonderful. Ari, thank you. Thanks to the lay people who suggested this book. Thanks to the members of Eitz Chaim who are going to be joining, and the members of Adat Elohim who will be joining as well. Just know, as your rabbis are excited to be on this path with you. So if you're listening to this before the high holidays, a Shana Tova or a Gemar Chatima Tova, a good new year, or may your final sealing be good. Whenever you are listening to this, know that we cherish you, and we are excited to be on this path with you.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And we'll talk soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.